We're talking about a very powerful subject tonight. I mean, wow. So you can get an idea of what we're facing. AI and robotics are very powerful tools, incredible tools that can be used in the right way. If they're used in the right way, can take humanity to the next level. I think that the way it's set up now, however, and the way it's being released is a little haphazard and a little dangerous. I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm very excited about the opportunity to use these tools and these robotics to enhance my own life in ways that maybe I can't even perceive yet. Right? And I haven't thought too deeply into it, but I can see how somebody who might have a disability, they may be able to really utilize the functionality of AI and robotics in a very positive way. Elderly people that maybe can't get around as well throughout the house and need assistance, maybe all of their children passed away or just lived too far away to give them any help and assistance, and they don't want to live inside of an old folks home. So maybe in that case, having a personal robot to assist them and help them around the house might be a good idea. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of great things that can come out of it. I just think that we need to really think through exactly what we're doing and how we're releasing this technology. It's coming out so fast, it's making me scratch my head, because prior to AI and this robotics push, things were coming out extremely slow. I mean, things would be developed 15, 20 years prior and then finally hit the market, right? They would go to the military first, and then probably a lesser version would hit the market for civilians. And that has been the way it's always been done. Now, I'm not a big fan of that way because I think it's held us back quite a bit. But this technology has the power to revolutionize the planet in a very rapid way. And that also I don't have a problem with. But what I do have a problem with are the stats. The numbers that are telling me that right now at our current rate, we're gonna look at a significant unemployment rate. So let's dive in. Let's really take a look into what potentially can happen. And I'm showing this not to be a complainer and a whiner. I'm talking about this tonight because I want to be able to put it out there into the universe. We need solutions because this is a very, very real problem. This is a very real problem, and we have to find a solution, and we got to find one fast. And I mean fast. There's going to be a situation here where there are going to be millions of families that can't feed themselves. Their bills are still going to go on. Their responsibilities financially are still going to go on. However, there's no job. Their jobs are being taken away. So we're looking at a real big problem that's brewing right before our very eyes, and we need to find a way to come up with some type of solution. I don't know what it could be at this exact moment. If I told you I had the answer, I'd be lying to you. But sometimes just speaking about these things and throwing the idea out there, and me utilizing my platforms to be able to broadcast this and broadcast my voice to express what my concerns are, might hit the right ear and the right mind that could begin to help create the solution. And that's my hopes, because the solution must be found or a lot of people are going to suffer. And I mean a lot. Let's take a look at what's going on. First of all, we have a situation now where AI is advancing extremely rapidly. Okay, this thing is advancing on a scale of, I mean, at this rate, human beings might be obsolete soon. You don't need to go to school to be a computer programmer anymore, because computer programmers won't exist. Let me say that again. Computer programmers will not exist within 5 years, 10 max, and that's really pushing it. It could be far less than that. You won't need to know how to become a computer programmer. All you need to know are prompts, because the AI is the programmer, the master programmer. All you need are prompts. So it makes everyone a programmer, because all you have to do is type or speak to the device, and the AI will then begin to go and write the code. So all these people that have been going to all these computer programming college courses, computer science courses, it's really unfortunate. The majority of them have just wasted, I don't know how much money, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, and a lot of time. As a matter of fact, a lot of people that are currently right now in college are unfortunately wasting a lot of time, because the jobs that they are training for won't exist when they get done getting their degrees. So they're gonna have to pivot into something else. It's just an absolute fact. And I'm not a doom and gloom guy, you know that. I'm bringing you facts because we need a solution to this problem. I'm going to take some time with you guys tonight and read a list of jobs that are going to be replaced. So we know that we're living in a time right now where most jobs are going to be replaced by AI and robotics. It's just a fact. There's no way to get around it. There's no way to sugarcoat it. That's an absolute fact. The rapid evolution of technology and all of its diverse applications are proving that most industries are going to adopt that method, because what happens is it allows them to remove or get rid of a lot of employees. And getting rid of employees increases the dollars on the bottom line. And all most corporations care about is the bottom line. So if I can cut liability, and which means I'm getting rid of all these employees, I don't have to pay all of these hefty insurance policies. I don't have to give stock sharing programs. I don't have to worry about paying unemployment taxes, all these things. And then I don't have to worry about discrimination because I wouldn't let Susie Tim into the bathroom and all these crazy things. I don't have to worry about none of that stuff. Matter of fact, I don't even need bathrooms on the floor. I just need one in my office. So all of a sudden, all these problems, they disappear. All these lawsuits, they disappear. Partly, I have to tell you this, partly, not all, but part of the problem that we're facing coming up with this whole revolution is our fault. Sometimes we have to take responsibility, because a lot of the times when I've ran big companies, not big Fortune 500 companies, but I've run companies that got almost to the Fortune 100 level. That's a lot of employees. And just seeing the operation, how people would act, and how they treat the job, and how they respect themselves and respect the company, it's a wonder how many companies can even function today, because a lot of people just don't really care. They treat the business as if it's, nothing. They're just a place to collect a check without having to really put their energy and passion into the job. And most people are not passionate about what they're doing. So that's another big problem. If they're not passionate about it, they really don't care about the company. They're just trying to collect a paycheck because they got to cover some bills. And one of the biggest problems that employees have is they don't understand who's paying them. They think that, for example, I run a company. I run a couple of companies, right? I had to talk to my employees and say, hey, I don't pay you. Billy Carson does not cut your check. The company does cut the check. But what I'm telling them is their real employer is the customer. The customers that buy our products and services, that subscribe to our TV network, that buy our books and buy our clothing and buy our luggage and come on tours with us, those are the people that are paying them. See, they have to flip the switch in your mind. When you're an employee, you have to realize your company doesn't really pay you. They're just a conduit for the money to reach your bank account. But the employer is the customer or the client. They have your money in their pocket. And your job is to treat your job with so much passion and so much enthusiasm and attention to detail that getting it from their pocket into your bank account is a very smooth process. It's a fact. I'm spitting facts, but a lot of people don't go to work with that mindset. They think, oh, I work for Coca-Cola, I work for McDonald's, or I work for so-and-so restaurant, and that's who pays me. No, they don't pay you. I'm sorry, they don't pay you a penny. They're a conduit to your bank account, but they don't pay you. And if everyone can really understand that and take their jobs more serious, and if they had done that in the past, if they came to that epiphany, we might not be quite in this situation. All the tit for tat, all the arguing at work, all the I hate this one, I hate that one, and all the illegal touching of this body and touching that and sending nasty messages and lawsuits. And we kind of created the environment for this takeover to occur. Listen, I'm giving you both sides now. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Facts are facts, period, point blank. This is the situation that we literally helped usher in. Now, we didn't create the entire situation, but I guarantee you, if people had treated their jobs a little bit differently, some of these corporations might have thought twice about what they're about to do. But now, the cat's out of the bag and everyone's going to convert. Let's take a look at some of the jobs that are going to be affected here. Manual and routine labor. Of course, that's a no-brainer. Manufacturing and assembly line workers, automation and robotics have been transforming manufacturing for decades, making production faster, safer, and more cost-effective. Warehouse and logistics staff. Companies are increasingly deploying robots for sorting, packing, and transporting of goods. I know that Amazon pretty much laid off, I forget the crazy number, almost 1 million people. Some crazy number. They have over 800,000 robots working at Amazon right now. When you order something on Amazon.com, most likely that's being packed and shipped by robots. No more need for human beings to do that. Why? Well, human beings are stealing the products out of the Amazon warehouse. They're hiding them in their backpacks. They are breaking things, forgetting things, packing the wrong objects, coming to work late, calling out sick, taking extended holidays when they're not supposed to. A robot is not going to have a schedule lawsuit. A robot's most likely not going to steal anything. It has no need for stealing or theft. It's not going to argue with another robot, at least not yet. There's no robotic arguments that we can detect at that level of their consciousness yet. Maybe there will be in the future. Right now, there's not. There's a lot of reasons for it. There's nobody going to fall off of a scaffold and have to go sue the company. They're not going to slip in water, or there's so many things. I can just go on and on and on and on that build up to a huge debt for the company. All of a sudden, all that goes away. All that liability disappears. It vanishes, and the net profits go up significantly, which is what's happening.
It's time. The time is now. We are the people. This is the era, and we're going to change a lot of minds in the next 10 to 15 years. A lot of people are going to wake up. We understand a couple things through metaphysics. There's a universal consciousness, and there's only one consciousness. You and I appear to be separate and divided apart, but we're not. We're still only one. Ancient Mayan saying, "In lakek alakin," I am just another you. And so there's a radio station broadcasting out frequencies from the universal mind, and it's broken up into point number. I'm 99.1, you're 99.2, he's 99.3. Your avatar body is designed to encapsulate a point number of that frequency for a temporal amount of time. You're able to encapsulate that frequency of consciousness. So, but it's all coming from one source. It's a frequency. God is a frequency.
Interesting you say that. So I got Nikola Tesla once said the following. He said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
Yeah.
What do you think he meant by this?
Oh man, that's powerful statement. It's one of the brightest minds in the universe. What he's saying is that when you think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration, you're now tapping into the essence of the nature of reality. That this reality that we're living in is an illusion. We have the illusion of solidity. Everything is really a frequency. Everything is made of light, and light is also a frequency, right? So this microphone in front of me looks like a solid object. As a matter of fact, it looks like I'm actually touching it, but I never actually touched this mic. What happens is this mic is made up of a wave of potentials. They're in superposition of each other, okay? And when I look down at this mic, my consciousness collapses those waves into the illusion of solidity. It's light waves slowed down. My brain has a capability, and your brain has a capability of creating a collapsing frequency wave that collapses this into what appears to be a solid object. When I touch it, I don't even touch it. You never touch anything. The electromagnetic frequency of the electrons orbiting the atoms in your fingers are repelling the electrons orbiting the atoms in the microphone, okay? So you don't even touch anything. That's electromagnetic repulsion. This whole world, this whole realm, just like the ancients say, is a dream world, sleepy time. This is an illusion. And what Nikola Tesla is saying, when we begin to understand the nature of reality is frequency and vibration, and through different frequencies and vibrations, you can create a realm known as our universe. We know he had a mother because he left a note to his mother right when he died about the fact that he felt like, he had been pretty much abused his whole life. But he had a strange ability to do thought experiments. Thought experiments are incredible things, something that I experiment with myself. But he takes these thought experiments and he creates these inventions in his mind. He saved a lot of money on engineering and production because he would create these things in his mind. He would see the process in his mind. He would even turn them on and see if they worked. And if they didn't work, he would know. So he'd only create things that actually worked, but he was doing it all within his consciousness. So he had tapped into a higher level. This man was on another level altogether. He was a high thinker, probably one of the highest functioning savants this world has ever seen.
Who else would you put at his level?
Well, beneath him would be Albert Einstein. I mean, he again did thought experiments. How do we put together some type of a plan or a process? I don't know. I'm just hypothesizing right now that we, the people, or some government authority, looks over these things and to make sure that these inadequacies of human nature are not inside of these robots. There have to be some type of oversight, I think. I don't think you could just unleash them on the world with no oversight, but there needs to be something put in place. And then we have to also think about, is there ever going to be a robot Bill of Rights? Because are these things going to be so sentient that eventually they're going to say, hey, you guys are pushing me around, you're abusing me, I'm being overworked. Eventually in the future, there could be a need for a robotic bill of rights. All these things are going to come out, eventually in the future. Hopefully, eventually, I'm pretty optimistic that we'll find the right way. That we'll overcome all of these issues as mankind will rise up, and somehow we'll do what's right. I have to be optimistic. I can't think negative, but it's going to be a process, and we will see some situations where, like, humankind is like a baby. A baby takes a few steps and it falls. Well, we can't panic because we know the baby's going to pull itself back up and take a few more steps and maybe take 5 or 6 steps then, but it'll fall one more time until it learns how to do what walking is, learn how to control your fall. The definition of walking is a controlled fall. People like myself and you and others are fighting for humanity. See, one thing about the light and the darkness, light always wins. See, right now we're in a pretty well-lit room, right? If you shut these lights off, all I have to do is turn my camera phone on and the darkness will flee from that light. But I can't inject any darkness into this room, and I have to make this room go dim. I can't inject darkness, but I can turn on a light and make darkness flee. And so I think that as a metaphor, I think that light always wins. And I think that, the work that I'm doing has a purpose. And many other thousands, and now even probably tens of thousands like myself, working to get mankind to see, hey, we need to take a look at ourselves. We need to go to inner space. We have to deprogram and reprogram ourselves. We have to learn how to love ourselves and forgive ourselves, because nobody's coming to forgive you and nobody's coming to save you. We were sent here to save ourselves. And when we come to that realization and begin to see each other as everyone else as our brother and sister, and love and empathy, then this world is going to change. I believe that's going to happen because I believe there's enough people fighting. I believe that over time, there's going to be more and more. I've seen this thing go from me hiding in the bushes in the 70s, talking to 2 friends about what I saw in the sky, to going to, trading VHS tapes, to trading cassette tapes on things that are going on, to trading DVDs, to CDs, to forums, blogs. Now I'm on over 100 TV shows. I'm on the History Channel, the Travel Channel, the Science Channel. I'm on the Discovery Channel, Discovery Plus. I got my own TV network now. I'm on Gaia TV. I'm on everything. And I'm on your podcast now talking about these incredible topics that I couldn't talk about in the 70s. It's time. The time is now. We are the people. This is the era. And we're going to change a lot of minds in the next 10 to 15 years. A lot of people are going to wake up. Hitler had been looking into ancient documents, ancient texts, tablets, stones, scrolls, papyruses from all around the world long before that happened. He had been sending his troops all around the world, even to Tibet, to talk to these wisdom keepers and sages about ancient knowledge of advanced technology. He already knew that there was an advanced civilization on Earth long before we got here. And he wanted to tap into that so that he can use that to reverse engineer it to take over the world. He was successful in creating a couple of Haunebu crafts. He created Haunebu 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these were circular flying craft that had gun turrets on them. Haunebu, right? H-A-U-N, Haunebu, right? There goes one right there. They flew the first one in 1936. So you see, this is a long time ago. And there's actually an image, an old image that was put up online of one of these Haunebu on a test flight. It only made a quick hop, but it got off the ground. And also, they discovered that down here in Antarctica, there was an area there that supposedly some of these ancient people, that's an American one right there. All right, we created that one. They found out that there's a hole inside of Antarctica, about a 30-meter wide opening, and that there were people there, these Aryan people, okay? So the whole thing behind the Aryan race thing wasn't about blonde hair and blue eyes specifically with him, because he didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes. It was these people that were down there that did, and he wanted to access their knowledge because they had access to advanced technology according to what I researched. That's the Diglocka. The Diglocka was one of the machines he built based on this ancient text that was able to warp space and time. It was almost like a time machine. And this thing, when activated inside of what they call a henge, it actually disappeared and nobody knows where it went. Okay, crazy stuff. But this technology he was working on, man, because he said that these people down in Antarctica had this knowledge. And he went down there to meet these people, supposedly. And much later, the U.S. sent troops down there. They sent people down there. And one of the statements that came back from the general that went down there was that we have a new enemy, one that could fly from pole to pole with incredible speed. And he wasn't talking about the Nazis. He was talking about something else.
Why are we, I think right now only about 70 people, I don't know how many people live there right now.
Yeah.
Why isn't anybody interested today? Why is it such a smaller number today?
Well, there's a treaty. There's a peace treaty, number one. There are research bases in the same exact area where the Nazis...
I'm sorry, 4,000 people there. Yeah. 66 scientific bases in Antarctica, about 37 are occupied year-round, 4,000 people through summer, 1,000 over the winter.
Yeah. Those bases are research bases from all the countries on Earth. It's an area where there's no war allowed, even though there's security, there's armed security. A guy on my TV network named Brad Olson, he actually went down there and was granted access to the land in Antarctica. I have this on my TV network. It's called The Secrets of Antarctica. We have the footage and everything. Now, there's this base down there. These bases are researching something. Secrets of Antarctica, Brad Olson. And they're researching technology down there or something down there. They're all down there. Even the Rockefeller Foundation has a research base down there too. Now, when Buzz Aldrin went down there a few years ago, he went to meet with whoever they were meeting with, and he didn't like what he heard and saw, and he tweeted something that was very scary. He said, "We're facing the ultimate evil." And then he was whisked out of Antarctica, and the tweet was deleted later, but it had been already screenshot by a lot of people, okay? A lot of people had already screenshotted it. And they said, oh, he has the flu. He doesn't know what he's talking about. There's something going on down there for this man to make a tweet like that. I think maybe they've made contact with these people. I had a meeting with Major Ed Dames, Project Stargate. Look it up. I had private classes with him on remote viewing. And in this second meeting that I met with him in Orlando, Florida, he told me that there are people still down there. And he said these people have the ability to come and go at will, and we can't stop them. That was his exact quote to me. I think we landed on the moon, and yes, we lied about it. The moon mission was a reconnaissance mission to go there and find out what the hell was up there, because we sent missions to the moon to orbit it prior to going to land on it, which is just standard procedure. And we discovered that there are, I think, a lot of anomalies, things that shouldn't be up there. And so I think the moon mission was a mission to go there, show the world a desolate, dry place, but in actuality, pick up some of this stuff and bring it back so we can find out what the heck it is. I researched the Clementine mission, and as soon as I heard Clementine, I knew it never came back. Oh, my darling Clementine, you were lost and gone forever. That was a top secret military satellite that went up there that's finally declassified. And in the Clementine mission images, which you can download over 2 or 3 gigs of, the dark side of the moon images are there. And in these images are things that shouldn't be there, anomalies, weird looking things that don't appear to be natural rock formations. Let me put it that way. And the mission never came back. It hit something and it collapsed up there. It hit something and crashed right there on the dark side of the moon. I think they knew it was going to hit something. I think they hit it on purpose. But there's something really going on. If you know about the one mission with the Apollo, what got to the backside of the moon, they lost their comms. That's pretty standard because you have the moon blocking you from Earth, from Houston. But something hacked into their comms and they all went crazy. And that's also on the audio, the black box audio that anyone can listen to. They went crazy. Who's in our comms? What is this noise? You hear it? You hear? It's like music. I hear it. They were panicking because something hacked into their comms when they got to the other side of the moon. There's a lot going on out here. We're just not being given all the facts. Where is that? That's the prayer of Ptah. Who's Ptah? Ea Enki from the Sumerian tablets. He wrote that prayer in ancient cuneiform, which then made it all the way into the Bible. And you think you're praying to God, you're saying the prayer of Ptah. So we've been brainwashed. We've been programmed because for generations, we keep getting handed down this system where we're given this false creation of who we are, and we believe it wholeheartedly. We'll fight for it to the absolute death. People will die over those things that were given to them, not that they came up with on their own initially or originally. So it's a dangerous thing because we have a lot of people walking around that just took the programming code and they don't even understand really who they are, what they're all about. That's why so many people don't walk in their passion. So many people don't even know what their passion is because they've been given and told what their passion is gonna be, and they have no clue how to find out who they really truly are or what they would love to be involved in or what their passion truly is. So we have a lot of NPCs walking around, non-players out here just walking around, have no clue, just programs in the matrix. But then you have a few of us that have discovered who we are, that are working on trying to go to inner space instead of outer space, dig deep within ourselves, learn how to walk in our power, find out what our passion is, maximize that, and access that power and spread that power throughout the world.
Would you say your parents were Christians?
They were quasi-Christians. So they didn't go to church, but my dad would make me do book reports on the Bible from the time I was a little kid. My mother would make me say the prayers, So that, in that way, they were Christians.
When did you stop?
I stopped probably, I say, maybe around 12 or 13. I realized something was too much. There was too much contradiction in the text. Because remember, I'm doing book reports on the biblical text. And when I got to the point where God said, I create the good and I create the evil, do what I say, the Lord. That's in Isaiah. Then I realized something was really off here, because I realized through my studies that God had killed over 3 million people in the Bible, and the Satan didn't kill anybody. So I said, wait a minute, something's a little off here. He's killing everybody and Satan didn't kill anybody. And so we have to really take a look. And the deeper I dug into Deuteronomy, then I realized there's something wrong. What it was at that moment, I couldn't figure out, but I just knew something was a little off. I dabbled in it again later on to see maybe if there was something that I missed. And again, later on in my life, in my late 20s, I said, it just doesn't make any sense. There's too many question marks. And every time you ask a question, they say, don't question God. Don't question the Lord. Blind faith. And I'm thinking, if I'm going to put all of my eternity into one book, if I'm saying this one book is going to lead me to eternity, and I don't know everything about it, every aspect about it, I can't question it, I can't dig deeper to get more knowledge out of it, then I think there's something wrong with that. I think there's something being hidden from me. And I'd rather be able to dig deeper, get more knowledge, get more understanding, versus people shunning me away from trying to dig deeper to get more answers. The person that's being considered to be God in the Bible, I don't think is an actual creator of the universe. I think we're mistaking the creator of the universe for a person, for people, different people that exist within that text that have been masquerading as gods, according to the ancient tablets. They came here, they engaged mankind. If you read the book of Enoch, you discover like the angel Azazel comes down, right? He comes from the sky down to earth. The first thing he teaches us is how to make weapons. Let me show you how to smelt this steel and make this sword that can cut through anything. Let me show you how to make a breastplate. Let me show you how to make a shield so that you can repel a blade and all these kind of things. And then he even goes out and helps humans kill people. So these are not what they call quote unquote angels, in my opinion. These are what people call aliens or advanced. I call them advanced beings because we look a lot like them and they look a lot like us. There is some distinction. They were distinguishable from humans, but they look just like humans in the biblical text. In the Bible, in some texts, they call them the Anak, A-N-A-K, the Anunnaki, the Anak. They say we were grasshoppers in their eyesight. They were big people. And these people came from heaven to earth. And in the Naturu, in ancient Egypt, they say the Naturu came down from heaven to earth and turned mud into a kingdom. In the Aboriginal culture, the Aboriginal elder, I've been on walkabouts in the outback. The Aboriginal elders, verbal handed down history for thousands of years. We were seeded on this planet by the Pleiadians. They brought us here. We were the first people here. You go to the Hopi tribe, the Lakota tribe, our star brothers seeded us on this planet. I mean, we keep slapping our ancient ancestors in the face, doubting their wisdom and doubting their understanding of what really happened. And doubting their drawings that they left behind and their texts they left behind by coming up with their own modern day mainstream idea of what we think happened when they left the proof and the evidence right for us.
So in your eyes, you think Jesus was an alien?
I think Jesus was half human, half alien, and I'll tell you why. When you look at the Apocrypha text, you discover, first of all, in the regular Bible, you discover he's born of a virgin birth, right? But then in the Apocrypha text, you discover that his grandmother was also born of a virgin birth. So it seems like this establishment of a bloodline there specifically. When you read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, you discover that he talks about he developed the ability to incarnate at will on and in any plane that he desires. That's pretty powerful stuff. He's saying he can come back however he wants and when he wants and in any dimension that he wants. He even talks about having rejuvenation chambers, which is what I believe the Serapeum is located in Saqqara in Egypt, is one of his rejuvenation chambers, where they would actually create bodies and put bodies in these gigantic megaton stone boxes made of granite and diorite, which are still radioactive, by the way. You can take your Geiger counter, they're still radioactive. They have an energy source coming out of them. And then he said that I would transfer my consciousness from one body to the next. He would leave another body in there rejuvenating for 100 years, then he'd come back and get it. and he'd do that over and over again. And by that method, he lived through eons. Pretty interesting. So I think maybe they decided to come back through a womb.
Got it. What's your level of certainty on that?
My level of certainty?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, man. I feel pretty confident in it. You know, and the reason why is because I've just done the work. I've read so much information, and I've been able to put together so many dots. And I think that the average person is saying, wow, it sounds outrageous, because this is what I was taught in school. And all they have is the level of what their parents told them and what the school told them. And the school, we know, robs your identity, and it robs your creativity, and it robs your consciousness. It puts you into a prison mindset. You just become an NPC. And what your parents are giving you is handed down, stuff from generations ago that a lot of the times really is just, old tradition that really has nothing to do with real science, real knowledge, real investigation. My research and investigation is second to none. I'll stand by my research and investigation against anyone, because like I said, I've gone out there, I put the time and I put the effort in. Am I 100% correct on everything? Probably not, because nobody is. We're human beings. But at the same time, my work is pretty strong. My ability to put together circumstantial evidence is very strong. And in America, if you have enough circumstantial evidence, you can convict somebody of a crime. Take that same mindset and put it out into the field of archaeology, ancient civilizations, quantum physics, science, and anything else. You could begin to build circumstantial evidence. And if you could put enough things together that begin to make sense, people just can't see them because they're so spread out. A lot of the stuff I research is on different timelines. So you might take something from 6000 BC and find something in 1100 AD that connect together. But because people only specialize in 6000 BC, they never get to 1100 AD. That's another specialist. So I'm a person that collects all the data. You go and get into the ancient tablets, you discover that, and Yahweh, who's in the Bible, is known as God, right? Yahweh is known in the ancient text as Satan, the Lord of Eden, E-D-I-N. The land between the Euphrates and the Tigris rivers is where they had the Eden, E-D-I-N. And when he has his outdoor laboratories, what I like to call it, where they discovered that mating these people together would work if they had enough genetic diversity. So what happens is his brother Enki, who's now known as Satan, he comes in and he starts talking to the people there. And he starts telling them, it wasn't just Adam and Eve he was talking to, there were other people there. And he was telling them how powerful they really were, and that the mysteries of the universe was inside of their body, and that they had the ability to ascend even to a higher level than even them. And so these people then realized that they weren't animals, they clothed themselves. And by the time this Yahweh character, also known as Enlil, comes back, Satan, he realizes what's happened, that his brother has given them the apple. What's the apple? Knowledge. And so he gets pissed off, and he curses his brother, and he tells them, never listen to him again. He's evil. He's the devil. He wants to hurt you. That's where this whole devil thing pops up from. It comes from the Sumerian tablets, okay? That's where it comes from. It comes from the Sumerian tablets. Enki and Enlil, two brothers fighting each other because one brother didn't like what the other brother was doing to people.
So what is your interpretation of people who go and go to conferences and they look up to the devil and evil, and there's a religion, right? What is the church called? Satanists. What do you think about them?
I don't like it. I mean, it's all about frequencies. Yeah, and people say, well, you don't believe in God, you're a atheist. No, I'm not an atheist. I believe there's a God. I talk about it in my book, Fractal Holographic Universe, because the evidence, the circumstantial evidence of a creator is all around us. Even inside this microphone with the Great Pyramid, you're talking about over 2 million stones. And people think that they're cookie cutter stones that were created, and they come up with a lot of different theories of a mud ramp. But the mud ramp theory, you would need more mud than the mass of the pyramid itself to do a mud ramp. Didn't work that way. Rolling on tree logs, again, a farce. Each stone is individually cut to fit specifically in the location that it's at. So each one of those stones on the Great Pyramid, although they look from a distance or from a photo on Google almost identical, when you're standing there like I was, you can see that each stone is an interlocking stone made specifically for the exact location it was dropped into, which means that you can't have a cookie cutter system where you create 2 million stones and just start dropping them into place every few minutes. You literally have to absolutely create each stone specifically for the location it needs to be in. Imagine getting a stone halfway up that structure and then finding out you didn't cut it right or it doesn't fit properly. The waste of resources, the waste of energy, the waste of time. These people built the Great Pyramid because they knew exactly what they were doing. They had done this before, and they had the blueprint on exactly how it was to be accomplished. They had foreknowledge it would be successful.
How do you know that?
Well, you can't, you're talking about thousands of years ago. Resources are key. Resources are very important. You can't take up the resources of an entire civilization to build something on a guess or a whim, right? If you look at Angkor Wat, Cambodia, the moat around Angkor Wat is about 13 to 14 feet deep. The mass of mud removed to create that man-made moat around Angkor Wat is more mass than the Great Pyramid. You can't do these kind of feats of incredible technological triumphs without knowing in advance it's going to work. You have to have it where it's filtering water from the mountain. You have to understand how to create. Then they took and made irrigation from it for growing their crops. And it has to also sustain itself within the moat. It's for protection against invaders. So to build that moat, to remove more mass than the Great Pyramid, you have to know exactly what you're doing and also have foreknowledge it's going to work. You can't waste the resources. Well, when you look into the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, right, which is why I wrote the book, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, he says in some of the opening verses, he said, builded I the Great Pyramid, patterned after Earth's force, so that it too might remain through the ages. He's saying, I built the Great Pyramid. And to give me the key to the time frame, those tablets are around 36 to 38,000 years old. Now, if you look at the fact that his father in Sumerian told him that his name in Sumerian was Nigajita, to build the Sphinx and put his head on it. The Sphinx's head never had a lion's head on it. It always had a human head, but it was recarved to a smaller head because his brother had taken over kingship and recarved it to his brother's son's head. So that's his nephew's face on there now. But when you look in the Great Sphinx enclosure and you look at the weathering of the stone and the rocks in there, it tells you that there was a major event, probably the Younger Dryas incident, which happened an impact right above Syria, which would have melted a lot of ice and created a flood pouring down into that region. Now, you can tell how many thousands of years the water took to drop inside the Sphinx's enclosure. So that gives you a great idea, based on real, actual, peer-reviewed geology, that this is much older than that. The Sphinx is much, much older than that. And that means that plateau was built around the same time frame. So now all of a sudden you're going, wait a minute, if it's some geologists say, well, at least let's give it 13,000 years, but 13,000 years is when the Younger Dryas incident happened. To get a perfect time to build megalithic structures like a Great Pyramid and a Great Sphinx, you need peace, tranquility, you need time, you need resources. Now, if you go back another precessional period, all of a sudden you're right around the 36,000 time frame, 36,000-year-old time frame, which is around the time that Thoth authored the Emerald Tablets and claimed that he built the Great Pyramid. Robert Schoch agrees not on the 36,000 years, he goes back to about 13,000 years. He's pushed the limit. This is a professor at Stanford, I believe. Stanford, yeah. He's pushed the limit back, Dr. Robert Schoch. He's pushed the limit back to about 13,000 years. His counterpart, Anthony West, who died unfortunately recently, pushes it back to about 36,000 years, but he passed away just a few years ago. He got old. But they were partners, and they kind of clashed a little bit on it. One went back 13, another one went back, John Anthony West went back about 36,000 years. So he was an archaeologist. His time frame aligned directly with my time frame, based on almost the same exact hypothesis, dealing with this impact incident that happened that would have pushed this creation back much further back than what we assume. And also, he did the work, Professor Robert Schoch did the work on the geology of the Sphinx enclosure, proving it's much older than what they claim in mainstream. Well, if I'm going to go into an ancient civilization, specifically trying to tie things in through the Sumerian culture, because the Sumerian culture has a lot of information and data. Sumerians and also the Egyptians, the pre-dynastic Egyptians, but also the dynastic Egyptians have a lot of information. But when you get into the Sumerian cuneiform tablets and the Sumerian cylinder scrolls, you get access to a lot of information. So I go to the UCLA CDLI online cuneiform digital library. Okay, so say that fast 10 times. So you go in there, you can take actual stones off the virtual shelf, drop them into the translator, and you can then read the translations for yourself. You don't got to rely on this guy, that guy, and all these other people that translated the tablets, you can get the translations yourself, and then you can begin to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Now, what's interesting is these stone tablets have been translated, and if some of them have been created in Assyrian, some have been created in Babylonian. You can see over different periods of time, but you can see the similarities between the two stories. And then you can also then make the connection between those Assyrian and Babylonian texts with biblical text, also with the Torah, right? The Old Testament of the Bible, the Quran. So all of a sudden you're seeing that the Quran, the Bible were written much newer, at a much newer time period than these ancient tablets. Why are they saying the same identical things as the ancient tablets? That's the first big question mark you have to ask yourself. So now you have to go back and back convert these languages, Aramaic, Hebrew, and everything else, and you got to begin to look at the origin of these sources for these books, and you realize 90% of it's coming out of ancient tablets that existed for thousands of years, well documented. No need to look that up or Google it because it's an absolute known fact. These tablets are thousands of years old, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 years old, and they're sitting in the British Museum. But like, for example, the Epic of Gilgamesh is giving you the full story of Noah's Ark. And you're even given the shape of the ship he built, not the ship dimensions in the Bible. The original dimensions of the boat is a circle, right? It's a disc that he built, not a gigantic boat. The story in the Bible is a little off, but the generalization of the story is coming directly from these ancient tablets. And that's just one example of dozens. And you begin to say, oh man, what happened was people were copying from tablets onto parchment papers, right? Copying and turning it into what we call scriptures, putting it in these vases inside of these caves where they were studying stuff and trying to hand it down from generation to generation. Over time, people came into these caves, found all these different vases in different areas throughout the region, put those things together and made it into canonized books that we call religious texts.
So what do you think about the Bible?
Well, the Bible has a lot of good information in it. If you can apply some of the information, it can really change your life. It can really put you on the right path. But it also has some information in it that's detrimental to people as well. You have to have discernment with what you're reading in the Bible. In the Bible, where you see the word God everywhere, that's a mistranslation by accident on purpose. The original word is gods with an S. It's always with an S. When you back engineer the actual word, the translations, you find out it's gods, not God singular. Elohim is also a plural term. It's not a singular term. And you also discover that Yahweh is actually Enlil from the Sumerian cuneiform pantheon, from the Sumerian cuneiform text. He's Enlil. It becomes Yahweh in the biblical text. And there's all these correlations between the different ancient characters from the Sumerian text end up in the biblical text. And you find out in the book of Deuteronomy that these gods are fighting each other over resources and people. So if you read, anyone who reads the book of Deuteronomy begins to realize this probably isn't the creator of the universe that wrote this. When God tells people, God is supposed to be all-knowing, all-loving, ain't he the same all the time? Then all of a sudden, you read in the book of Deuteronomy and he's saying, there's one person in this city that doesn't like me. I want you guys to go over there. Now, keep in mind, they've never met these people. Kill the women, kill the children, kill their animals, and bring the spoils of war back to me. Now, what kind of God needs the spoils of war, and what kind of God needs to kill children? There's also a verse in there in the book of Deuteronomy where God tells a man, if you see a woman walking through the land and you decide to rape her, and the word rape is the actual word, look it up, you can. And if after you rape her, if you decide you want to make her your wife, you can keep her as your wife too. Now you have rape and abduction. Now, you're saying to yourself, the creator of the universe, okay, has all power, all knowing, omnipotent, omniscient. Why in the world would he write stuff like that, or give a man the ability to write stuff like that to put in his book? In some cases, it's not talking about the creator of the universe. We have to be able to discern that. We have to be able to have the eye to see that some of this is manipulation for the power of people to put on top of other people. In the New Testament, Jesus says, honor your slave master. Now, why would we want to honor a slave master? As you would honor me, he says. Do you think Jesus really would say something like that? I don't. I think that his message was pure and clean and clear, and that he was trying to usher back a level of Christ consciousness back in humanity. And that's the return. The second return is when we all reach a level of Christ consciousness. That's when Jesus comes back. He comes back in our minds, not in a physical form. And for people to take his words and skew it around to make it okay for slavery, I think that's a a big thing where we see now the injection of human minds, not the creator of the universe. So you have to be discerning with the biblical text.
Who is Jesus to you? In your eyes, who is Jesus?
His name is Yeshua, okay? Jesus is, first the J is a recent letter. The J is not that old. So it really was originally Isus, and that name Isus means hail Zeus, okay? So you're calling on Zeus when you say Jesus, one of the Sumerian people who converted over to the Greek gods. But his name is Yeshua, and so Yeshua to me, very powerful person, very spiritual, high level of knowledge, a student of the Egyptian mysteries. When Jesus disappears from the Bible, he actually ends up in Egypt, okay? You can find this information in a book that was kept out of the biblical text called the Gospel of the Holy 12. And in the Gospel of the Holy 12, he shows up in Egypt, and we know that's a fact because I take people on tour every year to Egypt, and I take them to the house that Jesus lived in. It's a crypt. It's actually worship. People come there to see that bed that he laid in every single year. When I take people there, we take them straight there. And we know the path that he traveled throughout Egypt because it's a huge sign outside that Coptic church where he lived that shows where he went. Now, when he was in Egypt, what did he go there for? To learn the Egyptian mysteries. Who taught the Egyptian mysteries? Thoth, the Atlantean priest king, the person I wrote this book about. And so Thoth was the teacher of the Egyptian mysteries, or the ancient mysteries of what it was called. And then he leaves there and he goes to Tibet to learn Qigong and Reiki healing, which was confirmed by the Dalai Lama. And then he heads down into India to learn the mystic arts, teaching reincarnation all the way back. Then the Bible picks him up at the age of 32. I called my son out of Egypt. He shows up on the back of a donkey, proclaims himself to be the Messiah.